Alright guys, our topic for today is going to be the Dragon Book. So when you get Dragon Book restrictions in wars, what monsters are you going to use in them? There is a really obvious choice. All the other ones are kind of secondary and situational, but honestly, I feel like they're all worth talking about at least. And then maybe if you don't have said first choice, you at least have some options. Even if you do, you can still branch out a little bit, have fun. Not everyone likes gemming their attacks, right? So may as well have a few different options available. So to start things off, we've got Charm Constrictor. So she is like the very obvious choice. This monster is still very usable, like in multiplayer and wars, in literally every game mode. She's powerful and she's usable. So she is significantly above all the other Dragon Book monsters. All the other ones kind of become situational just because she is in Dragon Book. So she's just an extremely powerful Pierce attacker, crazy trait, powerful skills, powerful relic slots. Honestly, she's like a really good all-around pick. Everyone kind of knows about her. She's very worth picking up if you don't have her. So this video is more so going to be focused on the other monsters because, yeah, everyone kind of knows that Charm is the ideal pick for Dragon Book in most situations. So our first option, aside from Charm, is actually going to be Shakespeare. So this is actually a pretty powerful monster. He's probably one of the best multiverse monsters at this point. Like, not a lot of them are really relevant still, but he's stayed relevant along with a few others like Shield Bolt, just for wars, Mements as well. So he's definitely up there. He's got Anticipation and a Random Torture status caster. So already nice trade off the bat. And he's got access to some nice skills too. So some debuffs, some tortures. If you have a Love's Amulet as well, you can equip him with that. I unfortunately used mine as fuel for another relic like a long time ago because I thought it was Cheeks. It was before I actually had Shakespeare. So you can equip him with that and like a Merc staff, and you can use this skill right here. And with this skill, you can get an AoE possession with an extra turn, which can be really powerful. If you don't have that or you don't want to use that, you can equip like a Gaffel's Amulet and do a bunch of damage with the toxins, stack it up with poison and bleed. Can be a really powerful monster, and just having the anticipation is great too. So I'm going to mention this with the next monster as well. What I think is the use case for Shakespeare is Florian Wars. Okay, so here's an example. Say my restrictions are nature, light, and dragon. So if you have a really speedy Florian with 2 anticipation monsters, the enemy can trait disable your Florian with their Florian with the extra turn. He can anti-disable and then trait disable because there's 2 anticipation monsters. So what the enemy Florian kinda has to do is either bank on the single target mega possession, which has a good chance of not hitting because of the bulwark, or they have to use the AoE trait disable and double torture skill, and that means they have to deal with your Florian, which could be very deadly. So having double anticipation with Florian, yes, it's not the same as like when Florian was coming out having the double anticipation with Megataunt, but it can actually be really good because the enemy has to sort of bank on that possession hitting your bulwark. So it can be a decent strategy, and that is why I do think Shakespeare is a solid monster. Aside from all of his other utility, that's where I feel like his use cases are. And basically the same can be said for Croconeer. It mostly all applies here. He can be used the same way. So he does pretty much everything worse. So he's got worse relic slots. He's got, I would say, a worse trait because the random torture is definitely quite nice. And I would say overall worse skills too, but I mean, his skills are still decent. He's got access to toxins as well, just not toxins through relics. But he does have vastly higher stats, so he's actually a conspiracy monster. So he does have that going for him. Both are in the same book, so you can really use them however you want. Like if you have one but not the other, you can still use some of these same strategies. It doesn't really matter which one you use. So yeah, I do feel like he was worth mentioning just for that. So our next Dragon Book monster, this is one that I actually haven't invested in yet. I just got him very recently, so Crocark is actually a pretty powerful monster. If there's no Mega Taunt in the restrictions, he can actually check enemy charms. So he has some very strong skills. If you are facing an enemy charm, this skill right here can pretty much take her out. If the damage doesn't take her out, then the torture probably will. If you have some res block or whatever, or even if she revives, it is an extra turn skill too, so you can just clean up with one of these other ones. He is a pretty powerful monster. I think he's pretty good for checking charm in wars if the base doesn't have anticipation, if the base doesn't have Megataunt. Honestly, he can take her down very easily. His relic slots are a bit odd, but you can honestly do something pretty neat with them. Like you can do an honor dojo armor, and then you can just do like a torture spreading sword, ideally probably like a fury dojo sword, and that can really add to his damage too. I think he is a solid monster. He's got a decent trait as well. He falls off sometimes in use cases, but I think he's pretty good at checking charm in wars. And our final monster is going to be Fire Sword Treat. So this is actually a really solid taunt tank. He's not like super crazy in his restricts because like a Charm Ward doesn't often call for a tank because a lot of his utility is going to kind of be negated. But he can be a really nice option if you don't like gemming your attacks. And he definitely does have his moments. So he's got some alright skills, some healing, some random tortures. He's got a very nice trait. So taunt and torture immunity is really nice. The life regen is just a little cherry on top. His relic slots are fine. That's pretty standard for a tank. But yeah, I do feel like he doesn't shine too much just because he is a tank in Dragon Book. But on paper, he is a really solid monster. And again, if you don't like gemming your attacks, he can be quite useful. And if there was anyone wondering why I didn't mention any Demonic Pact holders in this video, that is because I just don't think Demonic Pact is viable in restrictions that have charm, because she ends the battle in 1 to 2 turns, right? So why are we using something that takes 3 turns to actually be useful? Like, I just don't find Demonic Pact to be very good unless you're like using these weird strategies where you're just using Demonic Pact and maybe like spam denying charm or something. But yeah, I just don't find it very viable in Dragon Book Wars, so I just didn't really mention them. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. That's all I've got for today. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. Please do let me know your thoughts, or if you think there's anyone that I missed, let me know in the comments. I really appreciate you guys for supporting the channel, and I will see you in the next one.